Like every healthy adult male, I've always wanted to start my own all-female Japanese street gang and cruise around town causing a ruckus. And thankfully my dreams have been answered in the form of Ane-san. Released in 1995 for the PC Engine CD, Ane-san masquerades itself as a standard addition to the beat-em-up genre, as you have the option to choose from 3 different delinquents to start your reign of terror and get your gang more turf, all while rescuing your sister. But underneath its noticeably generic coat of paint sits a few unique tricks that keep this uneven brawler from completely being lost in the shuffle. To start, you have your moveset, which is rather meager as it consists of your typical punch combo, jump kick, and health draining special. Diversifying your arsenal is a small range of throws including the standard chuck across the screen, but in true catfight standards you have a mean hair pull that does a great job stun locking enemies. But be wary not to leave yourself open to attacks from other gangs while you give a punk a new hairdo. And lastly, if you've laid out a ruffian, you can be a cold motherfucker and kick them while they're down. However, I couldn't figure out how to pull this off with any consistency, but I think you just need to be the right distance away from them and press attack. With your fighting skills sharp and your pompadour well kept, it's time to stalk the neon-soaked streets of Japan on the prowl for your next victim. You'll cruise around a rowdy park full of crooks and shady figures like Creepy Boxman here, you'll bust broads along the yacht club piers, and take on packs of bikers in the dimly lit parking garages they seem to frequent. Not even the shopping district is safe when you're around, as it's just another block to drum up chaos on. Aside from the revolving door of typical beat-em-up locales, the levels themselves don't have much to offer. They're straightforward, by-the-numbers, belt-scrolling fodder that leave a bit to be desired, especially since the enemy variety also comes up short. The whole game you'll be dealing with cookie-cutter gang members only parsed out from one another by their colors. And with your limited moveset and lack of weapons, Ane-san becomes antiquated. Chiefly so since bad guys seem noticeably passive, but when hits do land, expect to see your health drop like flies. It's quite jarring to see how swiftly you can lose a girl to a few enemies when things suddenly go south. For example, Sailor Moon here is the first boss of the first stage. If you find yourself in the crossfire of her exotic dancers, say goodbye to most of your health. But once they're gone, she can be swept up by a single combo. This dynamic carries throughout the entire game. Nearly every boss, including the last one, can be taken out in a matter of seconds if you dodge their attack pattern. It's kind of puzzling. But what really sets Ane-san apart from its cohorts are its few neat additions. Between levels, you'll be treated to a handful of customizations. You can head over to the shop and equip your girl with accessories that improve her stats, like jackets, brass knuckles, boots, knives, and sunnies. Or you can even buy her stuff to decorate her room, like posters, plushies, and this sick rock and roll plant. Aside from that, you can try your hand at a minigame, good luck with that, or listen to the rockin' OST. Speaking of which, we need to talk about the music. Taking full advantage of the CD audio, Ane-san will have you beating up goons to the tune of a bunch of rockabilly music. The soundtrack is full of 50s style rock and roll licks that greatly carry the average combat. It's pretty funny to have such an upbeat and cheery OST while you beat down people on the street. You gotta love it. The last unique feature this game boasts is actually really cool. As you pummel your way through each turf, the bosses you beat will join your party and act as extra characters. Each new round will allow you to choose from those bosses and give them a whirl against your rivals. So if you want, you can have Sailor Moon take on the biker gang, or have the kendo fighter try her hand at the final boss. It's neat to see a beat-em-up of the era try this and vary up your player base, particularly since these additions act as extra lives, which you'll want since there are no continues. That being said, Ai is probably the most well-rounded of the bunch and was the character I used to see the credits roll. While it may be a clunky and average beat-em-up on the surface, Ane-san manages to pull through with a few peculiar quirks that spruce up an otherwise forgettable beat-em-up. So while it may not be a must-play belt-scroller, it at least varies things up enough to warrant a little of your time. Besides, even an average beat-em-up is still fun for a few minutes, and Ane-san can hold its own. If you're one of those masochists that still collects for the PC Engine, first of all, I'm sorry, are you okay? Second, This one will run you around $150 to $200, so maybe boot this one up in your emulator of choice and rock out with Ane-san. Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this episode, consider checking out these other videos right here, or even subscribing. Also, if you'd like to throw me a couple of bucks, you can support the show on Patreon.